We are ready for a showdown because tonight it is FFPC Pros versus Joes number 3. I will be in the 108 spot all evening, and I need to show you this heavyweight room because, like last year, when I feel like it was a conspiracy theory and I got stuck in what I consider to be the toughest room of the entire league with Chad Schroeder, Cocktails and Dreams, who finished second overall. I came in 12th overall. 7 leagues, 12 people. What is that? 84, 72, 84? Yeah, good math. I came in 12th overall. But Chad Schroeder came in second overall, of course, to GOAT District, our friends, Theo, JD, that great group of guys who won Pros versus Joes. But just look at this room. Josh Larkey, Derm and Dermer, I believe that's Joshua Derm is his full name, who won his league, won his division, his 12-team league last year. Sean Green of the Sports Gambling Podcast. Dom, as we all know, part of the Go Bills team that has won the $2,000, $1 million to first placed main event in back-to-back years. Go Bills are part of the GOATs of FFPC. This is best ball. They won the redraft main event, but this is best ball. And here we all are. Shane Hallam, Kevin Williamson, myself, Howard Bender, of course. We know Ben Gretsch and Sean Siegel because they can't do anything apparently without each other anymore. They're just tied to one another. So they're drafting together from 112 on the ship chasing stream. But we are all here together from the 108. Tight end premium, I believe, is going to be the key here. As you already mentioned, Joe. Travis Kelce, 101. That's how they started. I'm going to see what happens when it gets to me coming up. From the 108, I am looking, admittedly, as I explained to the John Daigle show, how do we get that name, this morning, I am looking at tight end premium because that's what's been a factor in these types of leagues. But for right here, Cooper Kupp falls, in my opinion, falls to 108. So I think we make this easy and go Cooper Kupp. I have Cooper Kupp ranked, just in case you haven't heard any 4for4 shows. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. Jessel and I were on the same page. But to reiterate, I have Cooper Kupp as my pick 102 overall. In these types of formats, tight end premium, 1.5 points per reception to tight ends. Maybe you go Travis Kelce at 102 behind Justin Jefferson. The point is, I have Cooper Kupp, as Jessel does, as my second wide receiver off the board, in the same tier as Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill, of course, with Justin Jefferson. And that's because Cooper Kupp led the entire league, not just his position. Kupp led the entire league in target share, 33.5%, in the 8 full games he played with Matthew Stafford last year. Not only that, but points per game for wide receivers, half PPR. This is full PPR. Nonetheless, half PPR, Cooper Kupp was the wide receiver 1 last year. It wasn't Justin Jefferson. It was not the offensive player of the year. Cooper Kupp was the wide receiver 1 with 18.2 points per game. And the 8 full games he played with Stafford, he had 20.3. 2 more full points in fantasy than Justin Jefferson per game. Stafford's health, of course, a question. The team tanking, of course, a question. But honestly, Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, and Les Snead, all who are going to retire together, do not come back if they genuinely, even if they're maniacal, even if it's too egotistical, they all don't come back if they don't think they actually have something up their sleeves and can compete in the soft NFC. So we are all in on Cooper Kupp. Home leagues, it's going to be great because for recency bias, people won't draft Cooper Kupp in the top 8 to 10 picks in your home league. You're going to get the easiest discount ever on him. And he's going to be a smash pick. It's so obvious. Yes, Jessel. Saquon back in the first round. I am still personally fading a first-round Saquon. Think about what that Giants offense was last year And that's why Barkley led the team in targets, 76. The next closest on the team was 71 targets. And now think about all the additions they had. I don't think, Darren Waller included, I don't think there's a way Barkley leads this team in targets again. So I'm a little bit behind on Barkley than consensus. But behind is like mid-second round pick. We're splitting hairs. I'm just saying I'm not drafting Saquon Barkley in the first round because I do not expect either the targets or target share to come along this year, since last year were career high anomalies. That's how I'm handling it. Mauricio, who DM'd me earlier, of course, our good friend at NFL Fantasy Mexico, asked the question, and I am, Mauricio, I am drinking ranch water that I made this morning on the show. You can go back on the 444 YouTube channel and see that. Nick Chubb would have been an interesting pick, by the way. Right now, we are clearly seeing Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, Jonathan Taylor, and Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry as well, as players we are targeting here. I'm not queuing in front of you. I'm just here in the chat with you the entire night, 20 rounds together. But I don't want to queue in front of people just in case I get sniped. So we're going to keep the queue to myself. But this is the drink, Mauricio, I made this morning on the John Daigle show. I gave you the recipe. But just to let you know, the recipe is 1.5 ounces or 2 ounces tequila, 1 lime juice, a lime's worth of lime juice, squeeze it out yourself, and then fill the rest up with sparkling water. In this case, I have lime sparkling water. David Lynch actually watched the show this morning, so he knows. And okay, I have my plan of attack here on the board so we can all sound it out. It is Jalen Waddle, Tony Pollard, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Andrews, and Derrick Henry. Those are the 5 players in my radar. But given that in this particular format, not large field per se, 84 people, and that historically tight end premium has been a very, very successful way to approach this league. We know that because, if you watch the show this morning, our study session for this type of format, 1 quarterback, full PPR, tight end premium, FFPC leagues, best ball, I went through fantasymojo.com, our good friend Darren Almonte, who keeps all the data himself. And historically, tight end premium has been the way to attack this league. Thus, I kind of figured I wanted to be ahead of Mark Andrews on ADP here. I thought it would be running back first, but when Cooper Kupp falls to 108, I don't mind taking that over running back. And then Andrews getting ahead of tight end premium here. Ideally, I think we may force ourselves into a spot where we're taking Lamar Jackson as a stack, maybe even ahead of Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. We're going to have to see how the quarterbacks fall. But if we want to force this stack, since it is a best ball league among quote-unquote experts, quote, pros and Joes, even the Joes, again, in this room, are sharper than myself. They're all smart as hell. I would love to pick their brains individually, each of them in different shows. I think that's the way I'm going to attack it, is maybe just try to parse together my stacks, be a tight end premium, and go from there. So stay tuned, because if tight end premium doesn't mean, for example, T.J. Hawkinson or George Kittle on the comeback, then that means I will at least share with you some of my higher ranked tight ends that I think could break into that tier that I will draft, assuming I can maybe flex, since that's what we're trying to do here. 2 wide receivers, a flex, and tight end premium can be flexed. Jessel, I agree with you. Tony Pollard is very high on my board. And if this were a main event, a $2,000 redraft league, which again, I will be streaming August 4th. The very first live one happens on August 4th, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Put it in your calendar right now, because I will be on this channel streaming it live for everyone. I'll be hiding the queue again, but but I'll be here with you Friday night making drinks together, a $2,000 fantasy football league, just you and I. I will have Pollard over Mark Andrews. Same for your home leagues. I will have Pollard over Mark Andrews. In my opinion, Pollard is the best and most undervalued second-round pick in fantasy football right now. Just like Saquon Barkley last year. The only reason people are not treating Pollard as a first-round pick because everyone's running from Ghost. The ghost of Ezekiel Elliott. The ghost of running backs the Cowboys haven't even tried out because they don't care about their backup players. They never have. They don't care about their depth chart. They only care about top-heavy pieces. Tony Pollard is top-heavy. So we are attacking Tony Pollard as if no one, Ezekiel Elliott included, is going to sign there because even the Cowboys don't care about signing anyone there. For me, Joe, it is 100% Derrick Henry over Jalen Waddle. For Jalen Waddle to lead the league in yards per catch on a inferior target share to Tyreek Hill. A lot of people consider them 1A, 1B. It wasn't even close. With Tua on the field last year, Tyreek Hill had a 32% target share and led the entire league in yards per route run. Jalen Waddle dipped to 22%, a 10% target share difference. Not even close. Barely above the thresholds we look for when targeting elite wide receivers. That is Tyreek Hill offense, and do not mistake that. Whereas Derrick Henry, yet again, has no one behind him and is coming fresh off a year where he had a season high in targets per game, target share, and targets per route run as a running back. So we want to continue, we want to cross our fingers really and hope Derrick Henry keeps getting that target share. I do have Derrick Henry over Jalen Waddle for redraft leagues, your home league, FFPC main event leagues included. Maybe that's it, Jessel. The experts aren't considered that because they don't have a pod. But also Chad Schroeder would never have a pod because he's too damn good. He will not give you his information, as he shouldn't, because he's so smart. Again, him and the team of Go Bills, that may be recency biased, and the great Skywalker, who also won the main event back-to-back years by himself, solo, no team, just Skywalker himself. Yes, in my opinion, the best redraft high-stakes players in the game. It's always great to hear from those guys whenever they make podcast appearances. So now you can see what's happening. No tight end just yet. Jonathan Taylor, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Ramondre, Breece Hall off the board. Only one quarterback so far, which has not really been the case in these drafts. Third round, Patrick Mahomes comes off first. This being best ball, we know we are trying to identify these stacks. And if I'm attempting to go a Baltimore stack, I do wonder where I get the Miami equity. The same thing we always ask ourselves on other sites. Even when we're playing, for instance, the $125 best ball tournament here at FFPC, where are we getting Miami equity for stacking the Ravens for week 17? And as it comes back to me, TJ Hawkinson off the board, thus at least in this round, maybe not fourth round, we'll wait and see, at least in this round, we will not be going tight end premium. Both Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen on the board. And it has to be a quarterback here, in my opinion, because the wide receivers, I don't want to be the one forcing any of these guys since I have them all in the same tier. Well, one player I may have in a different tier. So we're going to do something crazy. This is not going to be the consensus thought. I agree with you, Jessel. Allen is the highest, but for the sake of the stack, I'm trying to think. Okay, let's get a little crazy. For the sake of the stack, let's complete it. Let's go Lamar Jackson. Let's gift the Stephon Diggs owner at 109, John Rosick. He can gladly take Josh Allen. There you go. No collusion, no vicarious handshaking, just completing our stacks. It is, Genji, single quarterback, 2 starting wide receivers, 1 flex, full PPR, tight end premium. You can wrap your head around all that. So now the question is, where am I getting my equity? From Miami stacks in week 17, since, of course, their top 2 receivers go in the first 2 rounds. Maybe it's Devon Achane. In a 20-round full PPR draft, if you want to get really cute, it could be Braxton Berrios. But honestly, at this point, I think we may just look at Devon Achane and go from there. Either way, we have the Raven stack. So we're happy with that. Good thing you asked that, Genji, because due to Fantasy Mojo's FFPC data, we know that literally, now this is a different format, so take this with a grain of salt. This is a pros versus Joes, only 84 people. Only. But we know in the 125 best ball tournament on FFPC, literally 47% of people, 47% of teams, think of that, have stacked Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Perhaps not from 101, but they have made that stack. So maybe 101 here is trying to get a tad unique. We'll see when it comes back to him. He could be eyeing Joe Burrow. Maybe he's trying to backdoor Bengals and Chiefs stack for week 17. We have to see. And yes, 47% Genji. And that was actually about a week and a half ago. So that number could be off. It could have actually probably increased by now. Again, I streamed one. I've done 4 or 5 now. I streamed my first or second 125 best ball team for the FFPC tournament, 200K to first place. And I explained my reasoning. I had the 101. I went Travis Kelce, but I backdoored Joe. No, I went Patrick Mahomes and T. Higgins, and then started backdooring different stacks in week 17 just to try to differentiate. Like it was T. Higgins, Derrick Henry, and then Patrick Mahomes, I think it was, because I was only the 3rd team to do that in the entire tournament. And again, I know that because of fantasymojo.com. Jessel's also pointing out that, yes, we are seeing the Josh Jacobs dips live in place. And it always seemed that way. Deebo Samuel, by the way, who, of course, Ben and Sean at 112 are going 0 RB because RotoViz will always go 0 RB. They know no other way. Deebo Samuel is the one player who, to me, fights his way into that tier with Devonta Smith, Chris Olave, and Jalen Waddle. We are fresh off Deebo Samuel finishing as the wide receiver 25 in points per game, 1 year after he was the wide receiver 5 in points per game. But we shouldn't double discount him. We knew the regression was going to happen last year because 2 years ago, remember, he scored so much because he scored a touchdown for every 10.5 touches. It was unsustainable. It wasn't going to happen again. And although we knew he was going to come back down to earth, drafters are now discounting him twice. That's not how we play the game. We buy the dip, understanding the regression was going to happen. So I am back in on Deebo Samuel. I tweeted out some stats earlier at John Daigle on Twitter. Wait, yeah, my name's right there in the corner. Brock Purdy played 186 snaps with Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and Brandon Ayuk on the field. Deebo Samuel led the team with a 25.5% target share. The Josh Jacobs slides, you see it live in person now in the mid-4th. You know, as much as I just talked about tight end premium, we are down right here to Amari Cooper, George Kittle, Jerry Jeudy, and Joe Mixon. Debo already off the board, of course. Joe Mixon I have in a whole tier above the others. And if we understand, I have Cooper Kupp. Yeah. I'm going Joe Mixon. And the stats I tweeted out earlier were that those 186 snaps, they all played together. Debo Samuel led the team with a 25.5% target share. George Kittle only had an 11.5% target share. Last among the big four. Remember, George Kittle only scored his touchdowns whenever Debo Samuel was out for those last 4 games of the season. In those 4 games Debo Samuel was out, George Kittle's target share jumped all the way to 24%, and his points per game jumped from 5.5 PPR points. Think about that for a second. 5.5 PPR points with Debo and Brock Purdy compared to 17.5 whenever Debo was out. The splits with George Kittle when Debo's off the field are otherworldly. He's a totally different player. Maybe because he's asked to block more, since he is like genuinely the most important piece in the entire 49ers offense, one of the most important pieces in all of football on offense. And he does everything so well. He might be used differently when Debo's available. But without Debo, he's out there catching touchdowns and murdering in targets. Just a different player for fantasy. So we want to be behind. We want to soften our stance on George Kittle in that tier of Mark Andrews and T.J. Hawkinson, because honestly, he's not the same player as long as Debo's healthy. I brought all my gear over here too. And by gear, I mean my tequila and limes and everything. Just because, again, 20 rounds, we're going to be here drinking and talking for a while together. Thank you, everyone, for participating in the chat and joining. This is a lot of fun so far. But, yes, Debo has had bad injury luck. You saw Kyle Shanahan talk about Debo's body jerking off behind the scenes, the fact that Debo has some sexy abs now. We're all back in on Debo. Regression, and then we dive back in. That's how the game of fantasy football works. You're right, Genji. 6 games is a very small sample. I agree. But the fact that, and not even 6 games really, like 186 snaps. Less than 6 games if you want to make your point further. But again, the fact it was so detrimental. Like you have to add so much to George Kittle's plate with Debo healthy. Not something I'm comfortable doing. Unless in this case, whenever Dallas Goedert goes, and by the way, that's sexy. Sean Green from the 104 kind of unlocked something. Jalen Hurts backdoor stack, no A.J. Brown, with the RB1 overall Christian McCaffrey. Pretty sexy. Joe, we are drinking ranch water. So, a couple ounces of tequila, which if you don't have the jiggers at home to wait and pour, no big deal. On the John Daigle show, I always make it easy to understand. So use tablespoons. Go to your drawer. I know you have a drawer. I know you have tablespoons. The measuring spoons. 1 ounce is 2 tablespoons. Jot that down in your memory right now, everyone. 1 ounce, 2 tablespoons. When I tell you 2 ounces, 4 tablespoons of liquor, of tequila, Blanco tequila. Then 1 squeeze of lime, a whole lime juice. And then fill the rest of the cup with sparkling water of your choice, whatever kind you want. Drewski. My thoughts are on Darren Waller is that he is the one player. I shouldn't say one player. My thoughts are that I have him in the same tier. No, I don't. I have him in a tier behind, but I have him in the same tier as Dallas Goedert and Kyle Pitts. Because Darren Waller, the way he was used last year, and I know. 15 absences the last 2 seasons. So his health as a 30-year-old tight end changing teams, of course, is something we're worrying about. But if there were a tight end who has historically earned targets and then is being discounted, it is absolutely Darren Waller. Because from 2019 to 2021, Darren Waller averaged 25% of Las Vegas's targets. And then not only did Devontae Adams get added to the team, Darren Waller's target share sinks to 15%. Useless. But they also, for some reason, Josh McDaniels thinks it's a bright idea to only use Darren Waller deep. And he leads all tight ends last year in depth of target. 14.5 yards downfield. So now he's being asked, George Kittle, by the way, to Shane Hallam with T.J. Hawkinson, that's where you buy the ADP. That's where you ignore microanalysis. You take the dip, Genji, that you mentioned. You say, that's a small sample. Let me try to get George Kittle here in the mid-5th round in a tight end premium league with T.J. Hawkinson. That's how you play the game. I love that. There are no running backs here we're interested in. Next in ADP are J.K. Dobbins, Alexander Madison, Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, Damian Pierce, and Rachaad White. We're not interested. We are not interested in Evan Ingram. So we are going wide receiver between DJ Moore, Drake London, Chris Godwin, Mike Williams, and Deontay Johnson. And in a full PPR, I think I'm about to make the click. It'll probably upset people. I think I'm about to click. Thank you, Sammy, by the way. Good man. But Sammy, I hope I don't waste your 99 cents because I'm clicking Deontay Johnson over DJ Moore. Full PPR, we have to do it. Deontay Johnson led his team in targets for 4 consecutive seasons. No touchdowns last year. And I understand that when we throw around the word regression, again, thank you, Sammy. When we throw around the word regression, yes, regression entails one more touchdown. Regression entails one more touchdown. And that's how he scores more fantasy points. But think about this for just 1 second. 833 wide receivers in the Super Bowl era. So dating back to the 1960s, 833 wide receivers have seen 110 targets. And Deontay Johnson was the only one of that group of 833 to not score a touchdown. I would personally like to think that means more than one touchdown coming. So I am betting on Deontay Johnson, especially in full PPR leagues, as the person who is going to help this offense regress the most. Now, you're about to find out, I have Pat Freiermuth ranked over Evan Ingram. So if for some reason Pat Freiermuth comes back, I think I attack that as well. If I know the RotoViz guys, they will 100% grab DJ Moore and Chris Godwin. As you said, Jessel. I have those guys all in the same tier. So we're nitpicking rankings. And again, I make my tiers on the site, of course, 44.com. That's the YouTube channel we're on. I make my tiers so that the last player in the tier, I am telling you his range of outcomes can outscore the top player in that tier. And so, like, can DJ Moore or Chris Godwin outscore T. Higgins? Of course they can. Of course they can. So I need to make sure I have them in the same tier. Although, clearly, a few rounds separate them. So then it just becomes parsing between them all. But yes, if I know the RotoViz guys, they are definitely talking about DJ Moore Justin Fields stack. And I know Gretsch is, oh, I didn't think about J.K. Dobbins. Sammy, once again, coming back. Thank you, Sammy. That's a full 378 you've donated to what we're doing here, and we appreciate it. Sammy is the MVP of the night so far. I don't know what I'll give you if you're the MVP of the night, but so far, Sam is the MVP of the night, and I will definitely give him something. It might be a free 4-for-4 sub. I can make that happen. So keep them coming. Mauricio and Genji, which I appreciate both of you hanging out. I appreciate everyone hanging out. Both agree Ranch Water is the pick here. So I'm a little worried, Spike Mocha, about Aaron Jones. I mentioned my Aaron Jones take on last week, the most accurate podcast, TMAP, the most accurate podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast at, with John Paulson. My Aaron Jones take, there you go. You called it, Jessel. Justin Fields. My Aaron Jones take is that I'm worried that touches don't matter. Because in the last 2 seasons, Aaron Jones has scored a touchdown in 11 games. And 10 of 11 those games, he finished as an RB1. He needed the touchdown to be a top 12 player. Cam Akers also, by the way, one of the most undervalued players in all of fantasy football right now. I think Cam Akers should be ranked ahead of Alexander Mattison. You don't have to draft him there, but that's where he should be ranked in my opinion. Because we need the wide receiver, as it comes to me, just to catch everyone up to speed, the top wide receivers on the board are DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett, and Marquise Brown. The top running backs on the board, Dameon Pierce, Rachaad White, DeAndre Swift, and James Conner. I think this is where I break in. Evan Ingram goes next. Sammy, I'll pull that up in a second. So now I have a choice. I could go Pat Freiermuth. And I could backdoor Pittsburgh stacks. But how often? I mean, if Kenny Pickett starts over Lamar Jackson in a best ball roster, that pretty much means my team is fucked. Like, my team is already screwed because I've invested so much capital in Baltimore. So I think it's best here to take either DJ Moore and Chris Godwin. And I think we have to go DJ Moore. Yeah, Brian says Mike Williams. Jessel says Pittman and Evans. See, the same tier. That's the thing. I think we have to take DJ Moore. We're hoping for a lot. I know. I know we are all nitpicking together this tier of wide receivers. But at least we know that Chicago's 21.5 pass attempts per game last year were literally the fewest per game and the first time a team averaged less than 23 pass attempts per game since the 1979 Chiefs. That tells you they literally have to pass more. They can't pass any less than that. Not to mention if we are still getting what we think may be another developmental year of Justin Fields through the air as a deep thrower, I would like to think DJ Moore can do enough to break in as my wide receiver 3 and compete for a weekly flex spot. But was Chris Godwin or Mike Williams or Michael Pittman the better options there? Maybe so. Again, nitpicking. DKB, do you hear a ringing? Let me unplug my mic really quick. We're going to adjust audio on the spot. And now, if you can still hear it, DKB, let me know. We will play around until we get it right. But yes, we all differentiated on that particular wide receiver tier. I completely get it. That's a really tough tier. All right, let's get back to the comments here. What did I miss? What are y'all saying? And we got lucky, Genji. We got lucky that we got both of them. But if you were to go to your home league again and see, as Jessel says, if you go to your home league and take Godwin, I have them in the same tier. It's completely okay. My issue for Trey Lance is that I genuinely don't think, I'm going to move the board down here for y'all, by the way. I genuinely don't think they care about Trey Lance. Brock Purdy was really good, first of all. Although we know Brock Purdy is going to regress. Brock Purdy's touchdown rate was higher than Patrick Mahomes. It was higher than the MVP of the league. Think about how insane that is. So we think the passing touchdown rate for the 49ers is going to come back a little bit, perhaps benefiting Christian McCaffrey, Debo on the ground, or Elijah Mitchell as obviously an amazing contingency running back to grab. But I genuinely think they're done with Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is a project that teams should trade for, but I don't even know if he enters camp as the number 2. I really think they're high on Sam Darnold, at least enough to have him enter camp in an open competition. So for Dynasty, Trey Lance is at his lowest point. You can get him for cheap. In fact, I will tell you the most recent trade of Trey Lance via our friends at Dynasty League Football, Ryan McDowell, of course, running the site, and Ken Moody, because they have a tool I use all the time for my Dynasty leagues, and that is their Dynasty Trade Calculator. And that shows me the most recent trades to happen on my fantasy league, the one we all use that we can never navigate. I still have problems navigating it, myfantasyleague.com. But their Dynasty Trade Calculator does tell us the most recent trades to happen with any picker player at my fantasy league, Trey Lance included. So I can tell you, Genji, in a 12-team league, Dynasty, let's just do one quarterback. The most recent trade, can I show? I'll show you this tab really quick. They don't care. Let's share this tab of the most recent Trey Lance trades. And you're seeing Trey Lance in a bundle of picks for Rachaad White. That happened on 2 days ago, on Sunday. Bateman and Irv Smith for Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. That's pretty much, that dictates, that's a good range of value right there. Trey Lance, if you're thinking straight up for a pick, Trey Lance for a 2024 second rounder, that's where he's at right now. Another 2024 second rounder for Trey Lance and a bundle of other 2024 picks. So that's how we're gauging Trey Lance in Dynasty right now. I definitely don't mind trading for him if that's what you want to do. Let's get the draft board back up here for y'all. We are just a handful of spots away. We are still looking at some wide receivers. Michael Pittman on the board. James Conner here. And Pat Freiermuth and David Njoku. Pat Freiermuth, 81 overall ADP. Let me look and see. And his ADP is usually 80.9. So I think all of us, I see your picks in the chat. James Conner off the board. That was one of our selections. Now, not to take the suspense away, but I think all of you would agree. Let me get back down here. Thanks, DKP. If I need to fix it again, just let me know. But Oh, sorry. Thank you. Again, I'm navigating lots of buttons here. Yep. Thank you, Dustin. I know we're working here. I think I'm going to go Pat Freiermuth. We're going to take that chance. Alvin Kamara went in the 10th round last night. As crazy as that is, he goes in the 6th round here. I think I go the tight end premium because Pat Freiermuth is my pick to break out into the next tier. Yeah. Kadarius Toney, Treylon Burks, just to tell you, and Jordan Addison on the board next. We are going Pat Freiermuth. That's who we're comfortable with in a tight end premium league. So remember, Pat Freiermuth was in and out of the lineup with Kenny Pickett last year. Didn't actually play his full game with Pickett until week 7 because he was injured. But when he was on the field with Pickett, he had a 19.2% target share, which was second to Deontay Johnson's 22.2%. So Pat Freiermuth with Kenny Pickett, a 19.2% target share. And also, just like Deontay Johnson, which is, again, why we're betting on the Pittsburgh offense, the Pittsburgh passing offense to regress, which is also why Kenny Pickett is one of my favorite late-round quarterbacks, because we're not only expecting him to start 17 games, but we have all these players, Pickett included, who performed like historical anomalies. Like just regression, everything they do points to a bounce-back season. Freiermuth's 2 touchdowns were the fewest of any tight end with 69 targets last year. And so we just expect their passing touchdowns between Deontay and Freiermuth to increase dramatically. So being young, a exuberant athlete from Penn State, and no competition whatsoever because Darnell Washington is a blocking tight end. Darnell Washington is a freak athlete, yes, but he's an elite pass blocker. And that usually means that pro teams pin him and pigeonhole him to be a pass blocking tight end. Freiermuth is one of my favorite picks. Dalvin Cook, yes. Still on the board. Ayuk went earlier. That's why he wasn't in consideration here. But yes, Dalvin Cook's still on the board. Dalvin Cook also still teetering. And we don't know exactly where he's going to sign. New England has been rumored. The Jets have said they're in. Miami said they're trying to figure something out. All of those situations seems less than ideal, in my opinion. We're all going to make another ranch water together, by the way. We got a lot more rounds to get through. And by the way, Sammy, you're right. Sammy is the fan of the night, commenter of the night so far. So far, Sammy gets a free sub. That's all I know. But we also have 20 more rounds and a bottle of tequila to get through. So let's see what happens. If someone wants to be FBI, a secret investigator, and also quickly mute me and listen to a couple minutes of the ship chasing stream with Ben and Gretch to see what they're doing to help me out, I give you permission to leave this stream for just a minute or two and infiltrate the Stealing Bananas crew at 112 over at the Ship Chasing YouTube channel. We are doing deep cover work tonight to make sure we get ahead. So we have tight end premium now. We definitely need more wide receivers. Running backs, I feel like the tiers just haven't worked out for us so far. And they're my personal tiers, so, I could be wrong. But I feel like I've been comfortable. I've listed them all to you. I've been comfortable skipping running backs where they are so far. And by the way, for this next ranch water, we're getting into berry sparkling water. I'm excited. This is the same one I showed the recipe on the John Daigle show this morning. So berry, sparkling water, gives it that blue color. Blue may not be sexy, but it's fucking delicious. Oh, yeah. Ooh, heavy-handed tequila, that one. So, coming up now, we have Kadarius Toney, Treylon Burks, George Pickens, Gabe Davis, Quentin Johnson, Elijah Moore. The running backs are Dalvin Cook, Isaiah Pacheco, and Antonio Gibson. We have a fight in the chat between Kadarius Toney. No, Kadarius Toney's still on the board. So now we're debating, in my opinion, Treylon Burks, Quentin Johnson, and Elijah Moore. And Dustin, I think you're right. Oh, you think he's too slow, is what you're saying. I like the Treylon Burks dip, but maybe he'll dip more. Maybe we should go, I'm trying to think, Joe Mixon, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Rams, Giants. Gosh, I'm going Treylon. So, Jessel agrees. Burks highest after Toney. My only discrepancy here is that maybe Treylon and Kadarius Toney dip farther for injuries. Okay, Dustin, I trusted you. There you go. Cheers. Ranch water cheers together. I mentioned this on the podcast. I actually mentioned this on, was it today? Every day runs together now as we get closer to football season. But I explained my Treylon Burks take, my DeAndre Hopkins take, on one of the John Daigle shows last Thursday or Tuesday. And that is, I want to buy the dip on Burks more so than be in line, agree Genji, with DeAndre Hopkins. Because DeAndre Hopkins is still going into his age 31 season in a new offense as a possession receiver. So yes, maybe that means he leads the team in target share. But we don't know who the slot's going to be. And we would think the slot is still going to be the big guy who earns the most targets. And all we know is that the last time with Tim Kelly in 2019, Titans OC, and DeAndre Hopkins OC with the Texans in 2019. Last time with Tim Kelly, DeAndre Hopkins did play a career high in slot rate, but it was only 31%. Whereas remember, Treylon Burks, for his career in Arkansas, this was not how he was used last year because Kyle Phillips was the slot receiver, and maybe that's the case again this year. But for his career at Arkansas, Treylon Burks was Brandon Ayuk. Treylon Burks ran 77% of his career routes in college from the slot and gained yards after the catch as a big explosive player. And so maybe that's what they do again. And if that's the case, we're getting him 6 rounds later than DeAndre Hopkins? 5 rounds later? That's something I want to bet on. I still want to bet on that. So I'm still in on betting on Treylon Burks and to a lesser extent, Chigokonkwo. Yes, Chigokonkwo. All right, we now have double spying going on. Open did us all a favor. Did go spy on the Stealing Bananas crew. And they're talking about James Cook and Jamar Chase. But then Jessel is putting in the conspiracy theory that maybe they heard we were coming. Our footsteps were too loud. Unlike Oppenheimer, they knew we were blowing the atom bomb way too early before we sent recruits there. And we're seeing in action right now, by the way, Dalvin Cook and Kadarius Toney still on the board. I only have one running back. I think I like the team so far. I don't say I like the team often. A lot of people will do their streams and say, what a good team. If you watch any of my streams, I will tell you if I have a shit team. And although the week 17 correlation, we don't have it in place just yet. Still a handful of things to work out. We still need 2 quarterbacks. And from my experience, even spending capital on tight ends, we're going to need a 3rd tight end. No big deal. Hunter Henry and Dawson Knox are my 2 favorite sleeper. Sleeper is just late round, but sleeper tight ends this year. I'll go into more data analysis whenever I get to them. But we're going to have 3 tight ends in this league. We're only going to have 2 quarterbacks since we already pretended as if Lamar Jackson's going to be an elite quarterback. We have no choice but to make it happen. But so far, not bad. We're just going to have to make a couple extra picks here. Zay Flowers is in our range here. Samaje Perine, Zach Charbonnet in our range here. We could be the ones to buy the dip on Kadarius Toney. We could also get Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. But yeah, Jessel, I think you're right. I think Jessel's onto something in that, just based on ADP, we're all scared of Dalvin Cook. Since I'm going to draft a lot of running backs anyways, maybe we go ahead and just buy the ADP on Dalvin Cook if he falls. Oh, and there goes Zay Flowers to Derm and Dermer. That's unfortunate because I definitely did want Zay Flowers to keep the stack rolling. But we have Rashad Bateman. We could also get, but Dalvin Cook seems like the way to go here. So my only issue, Jessel, with A.J. Dillon is that nothing changed last year. Like, he averaged 12.3 touches per game with Aaron Jones healthy in his rookie year. And then last year, he averaged 12.5 touches per game. Nothing changed at all. He is a top 12 running back if Aaron Jones were injured. Otherwise, he's just a run plugger who doesn't get targets in front of Aaron Jones. Thus, even his flex value is very limited. So I'm lukewarm. I'm median on A.J. Dillon, admittedly. Rashad Bateman also goes. So we're not getting a Baltimore wide receiver stack unless we make something happen with Odell Beckham. We have Kadarius Toney, Dalvin Cook, and Zach Charbonnet. That's next to my board. And quite honestly, I think it's a good dip for Dalvin Cook, regardless of what I think of Dalvin Cook. His ADP is 73.4 in these leagues. And right now, we're in the 9th round. And we have 1 running back. I think we have to do it. And you know what? If we're trying to galaxy bring this thing together, if we're really trying to get a little crazy, what if Dalvin Cook were to sign with Miami and we backdoor Miami 17 stack, a week 17 stack? What if we have a gut straight draw and we flip the 5 on the river because Dalvin signs in Miami? That's my argument right there. It's a galaxy brain. And I know, Genji, I'm with you. I've talked about this in the podcast, but to reiterate for everyone here, it's not so much an argument against Kadarius Toney. Remember, at the end of the day, we're playing a game. We're playing a game of fantasy football. And the game right now for fantasy football is allowing us to fade any Chiefs wide receiver, any of them, because it is an ambiguous situation at pick 70 overall, because that's Kadarius Toney's ADP. It's 70 to 75. The next closest is Sky Moore around pick 100. And so the game is allowing us to fade an ambiguous situation at 70 overall and instead wait and take our chances at 100 with Sky Moore, at 120 with MVS, at 145 with Rashee Rice, in the last round with Richie James, a proven slot receiver. And so, regardless of what I think of Kadarius Toney off the field and as a football player, we're not playing the game to bet on ambiguous situations 4 rounds earlier than the next person. That's not how you play. So we are not drafting Kadarius Toney right now. What makes best ball so stupid is that give it a week, and if Kadarius Toney's going around 110 and Sky Moore's going around 80, I'll be saying the different thing. I'll be going back on it and saying we should be drafting Kadarius Toney because we're still playing a game at the end of the day. We're not worrying about players. So we should all be out on Kadarius Toney right now. My 4 highest rostered players and this isn't a sponsored stream. I can say underdog. My 4 highest rostered players in underdog right now are Genji, Tyler Lockett, Keenan Allen, Rashee Rice, and 5. Nick Chubb, because he should be a first-round player. He goes in the mid-second with Tony Pollard. And who's the other one? Hunter Henry. Those are my 5 highest roster players right now. So I agree with you on not so much being in on Sky as a player, but in OTAs, Sky started in 2 wide sets. 2 wide sets is important. When my team previews start running on the site, 44.com, which right now, Sandy's in the lead for. Sammy's in the lead for a 4-4 subscription. I will highlight who I'm projecting to be in 2 wide receiver sets because that was the key for unlocking Zay Jones in fantasy football last year, was that he's a late round pick, but he's going to be on the field all the time. So we need to bet on that player just because regardless of what we think of him, macro analysis, he's going to be on the field. 2 wide receiver sets is important. And right now, Genji, whether I want to admit it or not, there goes Sky Moore. He's going to be on the field in 2 wide sets. I don't even know if Kadarius Toney can run routes from the boundary. I have no idea. So we have to think it's Sky Moore and MVS, if only because MVS is due a double-digit million cap hit this season. With Rashee Rice playing every position, and then maybe Toney if he's healthy. Remember, Rashee Rice played from the slot, 83% slot rate 2 years ago, and then last year, 97% rate from the boundary. He's had success in both spots on the field, which tells you he doesn't have to come off the field. So I do love Rashee Rice. It's coming back to us, though. Kadarius Toney's here in the 10th round. Zach Charbonnet with our Pittsburgh stacks is also pretty sexy, especially since Zach Charbonnet has a receiving profile. So I think we're down to Charbonnet, Kadarius Toney. Yeah, I mean, that's it. I'm looking at these other players. We can't play naked Jared Goff. We don't have a Russell Wilson. It comes down to, Jessel likes Khalil Herbert here. I'll get into that in a bit. I don't have Khalil Herbert here. I can't put him here. I think I'll go Charbonnet here. Just trying to still complete those Week 17 stacks. Pittsburgh and Seattle. Charbonnet, like Jahmyr Gibbs, is touted as the best receiving back in the draft, and he probably is. But remember, Jahmyr Gibbs last year at Alabama, 3.6 catches per game. Zach Charbonnet at UCLA, 4.1 catches per game. Charbonnet also a 5-star recruit, so pedigree. And in 2019, he was Jim Harbaugh's highest recruit on offense. Charbonnet is a superstar. I don't know if you realize this. Charbonnet's like an actual professional running back ready to destroy the world right now, and better at earning targets than Kenneth Walker, as proven by Walker last year. And so, just like the situation last year, whenever we were drafting Kenneth Walker in this range, because remember, Rashad Penny was a starter. Rashad Penny was coming off of an RB1, a top 5 last month of the season in 2021. And so everyone was scared to draft Kenneth Walker, myself included. But it's the same situation as last year where one thing happens, right? Even if Charbonnet were to open on the third down role as the better receiving back to Ken Walker, one thing happens, and suddenly Charbonnet is a weekly top 12 running back because he has number 1 pedigree, because he's a fucking baller. He was always good from high school on. So I do love Zach Charbonnet quite a bit. So Khalil Herbert, Jessel. My concern there. I'm going to take a drink of this berry. This is good. Yes. Khalil Herbert averaged 18 touches per game. He made 2 starts without Dave Montgomery. That's what he averaged, 18 touches per game last year. But Montgomery came back. It was still a timeshare, and Herbert was unable to earn targets. Herbert has a hard time earning targets as a pass-catching back. The good news is, well, the bad news, they've already said they want to play a committee. So let's pretend like we don't believe them. Let's play devil's advocate, say they're not going to use a committee, even though they signed Deontay Foreman, they drafted Roschon Johnson, they signed Travis Homer, a third down back, whatever. I think Deontay Foreman is the one among that group to get healthy scratched every week, because Deontay Foreman doesn't play special teams, whereas Roschon Johnson was a special teams captain at Texas. Roschon Johnson was also one of the best pass blocking backs in the nation. Like, oh, there he goes. Joe tells us to shut up, because let's all take note of where Kadarius Toney's going right now in high stakes drafts, post injury, mid 10th, and at the end of the 10th, and I considered him at the mid 10th ahead of Zach Charbonnet. So that's our range. That's where we're going right now. But yes, that's the thing, is that it will likely be a committee in Chicago. Roschon Johnson plays special teams, was a captain at special teams at Texas, and was one of the best pass blocking backs in the nation. So we think he's going to play third downs over Khalil Herbert, who can't earn targets, or who has shown he hasn't been able to earn targets. I shouldn't say can't. And then we have Deontay Foreman, who, again, I think is going to be scratched every week because he doesn't do anything else but carry the ball. Him as the goal line back, a big bruising back. Travis Homer as a proven pass catcher and third down specialist back. And then we have Khalil Herbert. So I fear, Jessel, that Herbert is going to be pigeonholed into an early down role, which is not helpful for fantasy. First and second downs. And then it's a battle between Roschon and Travis Homer for that third down role, especially since both will be active every week because they play special teams, and that's important. So I'm a little bit down on Khalil Herbert for fantasy, not for his talent, because he's genuinely one of the most talented running backs in the NFL, literally. He's proven that time and time again. He's a better player than David Montgomery. But they've clearly added specialty players to be in those positions over him, unfortunately. Tank Bigsby, another good option. Tank Bigsby, by the way, there goes your boy. There goes my boy, too, because Devon A-Chain was another option here for us. He went. Tank Bigsby, starter for his entire career in the SEC at Auburn, averaged for his career in the SEC a 15.5% target share. Unlike Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby can earn targets, and he's a big boy who led his team in rushing every year. He's a proven workhorse, so I do like Tank Bigsby quite a bit as well, as do a lot of people. I think we're looking at, so on the board right now, Jerick McKinnon, Jalen Warren, Elijah Mitchell. The wide receivers, I really feel like we're still waiting, guys. Juju Smith-Schuster Jacoby Myers, Odell Beckham, Rondell Moore, Zay Jones. We're definitely waiting. Jared Goff is still just sitting on the board. 117 ADP. I think it's down personally to, okay, you know what? Just to show you I'm listening to you, I was going to say Jaylen Warren or Elijah Mitchell. But Genji, Jessel, you're saying Elijah Mitchell. We have 31 seconds together. So unless someone else tells me Jaylen Warren, I will go Elijah Mitchell right now. I will side with the chat. Same tier. In my opinion, same player. We're hoping, we're getting some standalone touches. I got thoughts on that. Don't worry, Jessel. All right, we're going Elijah Mitchell together. We still need a second quarterback, even though they're still on the board. We still don't necessarily need it, but we can get a third tight end. And we need some more receivers. Odell Beckham, Genji, I saw you mention it earlier. Although I'm down on Odell Beckham as a whole, this is where he's in our range. He slips to the 12th round. He's in our range to come just to add to the stack. So, Jessel, do I have thoughts on Jayden Reed? Because I think Jayden Reed is really fucking good at football. I think Jayden Reed is like one of the best sleepers that no one in your home league will know. I get excited when I talk about him. So, quick backstory. I was at which was it? Which conference was it? FSGA? One of the conferences this offseason. I can't even remember which one. No, the Combine. It was the Combine in Indianapolis. And Cody Carpentier and Alex Dunlap. Alex Dunlap is Roster Watch on Twitter. Cody Carpentier, I believe, is Carpentier NFL. Both work for Roster Watch and Player Profiler. Two of the best college analysts, in my opinion, in the nation. I would put their analysis against anyone else. And I had my favorites. I think Eric Froton is also literally one of the best in the entire nation. But Alex Dunlap compared Jayden Reed to Antonio Brown. And then he perked my ears. So then I start looking into it. And look at this, look at these game logs. Hear this out. Jayden Reed had, across 4 collegiate seasons, 203 catches, 18 carries, and then remember, because special team return yardage translates well to the NFL for wide receivers. If you're actually a good kick returner and punt returner, that probably means you have good vision, and it translates to being a wide receiver after the catch. Jayden Reed averaged 20 yards per kickoff return, 15.3 yards per punt return, and had a 25-yard touchdown pass as well. So, the fact that he also, remember, I don't know if you remember D. Eskridge. D. Eskridge was a day 2 pick at wide receiver for the Seahawks a few years back. But as an 18-year-old, Jayden Reed and D. Eskridge played in the same offense together. And Jayden Reed actually led D. Eskridge in receiving yards. He had 25 more receiving yards as an 18-year-old freshman than a day 2 wide receiver. And he had 5 more receiving touchdowns than his teammate, again, as an 18-year-old. Jayden Reed is the truth. So I think Jayden Reed is one of the, honestly, the best sleepers, even in redraft leagues. Your home league mates will go for Romeo Doubs. I genuinely think Jayden Reed is a better NFL player. And he's someone no one's talking about at all. Speaking of which, Genji, I think my rookie tiers are on the homepage at 44.com right now, which Sammy has a free sub to because he's donated the most tonight. But I put out my rookie tiers every year immediately post-draft because that's when I do my rookie drafts. So I just journal my information and I show you this is how I have my tiers that I'm using in my draft. Thus, if you want to use it, here it is right here. And I've had Jaden Reed in the same tier as Jonathan Mingo, as Rashee Rice this entire time, because Jaden Reed is fucking good at football. So I think everyone should quietly, don't tell anyone outside of this. We all want to keep Jaden Reed a secret. In your home leagues, he's going to be a last round pick. I think Jaden Reed's really good. I think he's a great pick. All right, guys. Oh, come on. Jaylen Warren and Odell Beckham. And honestly, Genji, I love you being here, but I think we have to go Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren was a player we were about to pick right there. We only have 4 receivers, but in this range, doesn't Jaylen Warren have more upside? Like, do we really need to be prioritizing Odell Beckham just for the stack? I think Lamar and Mark Andrews might be good enough. Mauricio, one of my good friends, again, check him out. NFL Network Fantasy, Mexico. I think it's Jaylen Warren. I think we have to just tap here, and we don't ask questions. Dustin is backing it up. Jaylen Warren. That's it. Let's not force the stack. We're going Jaylen Warren together. So here's the thing on Warren and Alex. Welcome to the chat. I'll push you up there. Here's the thing on Warren and Najee. So Najee averaged 16.5 touches per game prior to Steelers' Week 10 bye. And then he had the foot injury, remember. He reportedly healed from the foot injury, and after their Week 10 bye, played 8 games with Jaylen Warren together. And in those 8 games, he averaged an increased 21.5 touches per game. But quietly, Najee Harris' overall share of backfield touches decreased in the second half of the season. It went down from 76% in the first half, so 16.5 touches, but still 76% of the team's backfield touches, to 21.5, but only 70% of the team's backfield touches. Jaylen Warren, the second half of the season, he only averaged 8.5 touches, meandering, no standalone value. I get that. Really what happened is that the team was trying to hide Kenny Pickett, and that's why the Steelers' backfield in the second half of the year averaged 7.6 more touches per game as a whole. But what if it's the same thing, right? Like, what if Najee Harris is only getting by on touches? Because, also think about this. Since Najee Harris graduated high school, he has 1,276 carries for his career. Alabama NFL, 1,276 carries, and only 30 have gone for 20 yards. Najee Harris is one of the least explosive NFL backs, probably in NFL history. He just scores fantasy points on touches. And so what we're doing with a Jaylen Warren pick is not only fading Najee Harris, is not only saying, hey, we're telling our league mates, sure, Najee Harris can be a top 12 running back on touches, but why do we want to make that bet in the 4th or 5th round? Well, we can still grab elite wide receivers or tight ends or a top quarterback. And if you're making the argument for touches, why don't you just wait for touches? Why don't you wait for David Montgomery, James Conner, a few rounds later? Just wait. If you're making the argument for touches, arbitrage the touches. Don't grab Najee Harris, who needs the touches. We grab Jaylen Warren just in case Najee Harris gets injured. That's how we play the game. So, yes, we are all in on Jaylen Warren, who I don't think will have standalone value. I don't ever think you can flex Jaylen Warren if Najee Harris is healthy. But if Najee Harris is out, RB1, Jaylen Warren, quite easily. Okay. I mean, to be fair, if we're expecting GG Moore to command all the targets, we don't need to worry about like Darnell Mooney, right? I probably have, I have to go to my redraft rankings, but I think I have Jaden Reed over Darnell Mooney anyways. Like, because think about range of outcomes, multiverses. Doctor Who comes out and tries to create Marvel universes and shows you the target share or just how Jaden Reed and Darnell Mooney earn targets, right? Like, isn't Darnell Mooney still getting there on what, 4.5 targets per game as a deep threat? Sexy. But in what worlds does Darnell Mooney lead the Bears in targets or have more targets than Jaden Reed? Since, honestly, the Packers' target tree is wide open. I don't mind Christian Watson for best ball. High ceiling. Sexy pick. A player everyone always targets. But remember, Christian Watson, when he scored a touchdown, he played 8 games after week 10 because he was injured before week 10. Week 10 was his breakout against the Cowboys at Lambeau Field on Sunday Night Football, primetime. So let's just say week 10 on, right? Christian Watson's a full-time player for week 10 on. And 4 of those games, he scored a touchdown, and he scored over 20 points per game. Great. Christian Watson scores touchdowns. That's his profile. No big deal. But what does he do outside of that profile? And then you look in the other 4 games he played over the second half of the season that he didn't score a touchdown. He was the wide receiver 53 in points per game. He didn't do anything at all. And so Christian Watson is much more volatile than people think. A very sexy pick, again, for best ball because, like Mike Evans last year, you won't have to make the start-sit decisions if he goes through a 4 to 6 week stretch of doing nothing, and then you sit him and he goes for 3 touchdowns. Volatile pick. But I think Jaden Reed's path to leading the team in targets is kind of more wide open than everyone thinks. Still the minority odds, still very low odds, but much higher than people think that Reed can finish with more targets than Christian Watson, for sure. All right, we're also 2 picks away now. Zay Jones is fun. Needing a wide receiver. Kendry Miller's a lot of fun, too. Jerome Ford, a lot of fun. We need a second quarterback. We talked about Kenny Pickett. I think we complete the stack and we go Kenny Pickett here. We have Jalen, Deontay, and Freiermuth. And we have Charbonnet, our one Seattle player, Charbonnet. I think I go 2 quarterbacks here, and then we're done with quarterbacks. I have no San Francisco player to go Brock Purdy. I have no Texans player to go Bryce Young. I do like Sam Howell, but I have no Washington player either. Yeah, I think I go Kenny Pickett, guys, and we're done with quarterbacks. We're done now. Lamar, Kenny Pickett, different bye weeks in best ball. Let's bet on the Pittsburgh Steelers touchdown regression and hope for the best. And for those that don't know, I've already talked about a little bit about the regression coming for individual players, but why I'm betting on the Steelers offense as a whole is that their passing touchdown rate. So the Steelers scored 42.8% of their passing touchdowns through the air. That was the 5th lowest rate of the last decade. Like a historical, never going to happen again. And the other teams, because it's so low, like you have to bump up the rates. So the other handful of teams, double-digit teams, that recorded a 43% touchdown rate through the air, all increased their touchdown rate the following year on average by 20%, 20 and change percent. So we're betting on regression happening, hopefully in that 20% bump. But even if it's just like a 15% bump, that's okay. We can work with that. Them being 55 to 58% passing touchdown rate through the air. So the 3 offenses I'm betting on to regress as a whole. And it's fun because, 2 of them, the Patriots and the Rams, are pretty much last round players. But I think 3 offenses that are very easily going to regress through the air and that we should be betting on the last rounds are the Steelers, Rams, and the Patriots. The Patriots hard. The Patriots defense quietly was miserable. They padded their stats against rookies and backup quarterbacks. But if you look at any competent players, from Kirk Cousins to Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, the list goes on, Joe Burrow, they allowed 27 points per game. They were dreadful. And all the Patriots did on defense was add first-round cornerback Christian Gonzalez, who I like, but they really only drafted him not only because he slipped in terms of draft rankings, but he plays special teams. And we know Bill Belichick prioritizes players who play special teams. They're dual threats, multifaceted. And so if we think the Patriots are not only going to get steamrolled every week, which they will, and also have a more competent offense now that Matt Patricia is not calling plays, the Patriots' passing offense for volume is one to attack. And you can get all those guys, Mac Jones, Hunter Henry, Devontae Parker, not Ramondre Stevenson, Tyquan Thornton even. You can get all those guys for free, for cheap. So those are the three offenses that I'm betting on this year in fantasy football. But of course, betting on Kenny Pickett, Matthew Stafford, and Mac Jones will probably lead to more ranch water. So keep on drinking. Okay. And Jessel, again, Christian Gonzalez is good. He was one of the best zone cornerbacks in the entire nation. But the defense is still quite awful. No. Mitchell with Purdy was also a good idea, Dustin. I missed that. That's okay, though. I wanted just to complete the stack here. And as Joe says, yes. Ranch water. That's when you talk about the Rams. I did want Kendry Miller. I was hoping we could get Kendry Miller there. Okay. We've all agreed we're going another tight end. But it doesn't have to be now. We'll probably go a running back. And wide receivers. Let's see. I need to count the board here. So we have 4. And a lot of people have 5 already. So, I mean, there's no difference. Well, I guess stealing, of course, the RotoViz crew, Ben Gretsch, Sean Siegel, they have 6. Makes sense. I get it. We're looking at Jerome Ford. Honestly, Jerome Ford is the only running back in my range here. Well, Kenneth Gainwell. We're looking at Kenneth Gainwell, Jerome Ford, Michael Gallup, Rashid Shaheed, Tyler Conklin, if we want a third tight end. I personally think the pick, yeah, Dustin's saying Tyler Conklin. I kind of like Jerome Ford over Tyler Conklin. Dustin? Again, we have a flex. We could be banking on a running back flex. And I don't think Jerome Ford has any standalone value, but if Nick Chubb were injured, that's an RB1. Whereas we have, Jessel saying he likes Conklin too over Jerome Ford. Okay. All right, guys. I don't hate Tyler Conklin. Tight end premium, let's do it. I'm listening to the chat. Okay, that's kind of crazy, Genji. We don't need to think they go 0-17. The Patriots, per Warren Sharp, actually do have, well, the Giants have the toughest schedule, which is why we think they're going to win less than 8 games. And then it's the Patriots who have the next toughest schedule. Pretty tough. Yeah. Conklin, third tight end, we're done. So we believe, I'm going to overrule the chat for moving forward. We know together, let's be friends here. We know together we're done at tight end because we already spent capital on tight end thinking that we got it right. Both with the flex and an elite one, Andrews and Freiermuth. And then we said earlier, we talked about it. The best strategy we think is to still get premium tight end. Thus, we want Tyler Conklin, who's going to start, has reportedly already been one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targeted OTAs, and there's no competition. So we're done at tight end. We're done at quarterback. 2 17-game starters, including betting on our stack with Lamar Jackson. And thinking that Kenny Pickett plays 17 games. That's really what we need here. We just need to set another 17-game starter to lock in 2 quarterbacks. Otherwise, I'd go a QB3, but first-round quarterback just last year. Kenny Pickett's going to play 17 games. So, now, yes, Dustin has it figured out. We start going wide receiver. They're gonna fly off the board from here. But right now, just to catch you all up, what we're looking at is KJ Osborne, Michael Gallup, Rashid Shaheed, DJ Shark, Jaden Reed, Isaiah Hodgins, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And again, they're going to start flying off the board. Owen, it's July 25th. Let me look at my hand with a watch, not this one. July 25th. And you're asking help for the 13th pick in a 14-man PPR league? July 25th. Put your fucking question in the chat and I'll help out. This once. Because you're my friend, Owen. All right. Although I got to say, Dustin, Jessel, Genji, I know everyone's still out there. You're right. Also remember, when we're factoring in Week 17 stacks, Tyler Conklin stacks with Jerome Ford, who also stacks with Corey Davis, which is my favorite last-round best ball wide receiver in any format. FFPC, NFFC, underdog. Corey Davis should be drafted in all of your leagues because he's young. Like you wouldn't, I know we've been through a lot. We've been through the ringer with Corey Davis, but he literally just turned 28 in January. And he's an actual NFL player, which Mecole Hardman is not. Mecole Hardman's a gadget player. Corey Davis will start in 3 wide receiver sets, maybe even 2 wide receiver sets over Allen Lazard. It depends how much say Aaron Rodgers has. But Corey Davis is an amazing best ball pick in every format. And so Tyler Conklin, maybe Jerome Ford, and Corey Davis. That kind of sets up a backdoor Week 17 stack. Owen, it's okay. I was kidding. You know, we're all friends here. Double wide receiver or something like Nick Chubb. Owen, 14 team, 113 PPR. Give me 6 players you think will be there in the chat, and then I'll answer that question. How about that? Because I don't know how your league mates draft. You know better than me. So give me a handful of players you think will be there at 113, and then we can talk. That's it, Joe. And Joe with Ranch Water. Joe with Ranch Water will be there in the 18th round. I agree, Adam. And I know, Jessel, you disagree. But yes, that's it. Volume is volume. And Devontae Parker, who again just received $16 million guaranteed, or $14 million guaranteed. Think about this. Juju Smith-Schuster got $16 million guaranteed on free agency. And then Devontae Parker just got $14 million guaranteed by putting pen to paper. They want him on the field. I don't want him on the field. I would know how to run a team better than that, but they want him on the field. So Devontae Parker will start in 2 wide receiver sets. What we're really trying to figure out for the Patriots offense is who's going to be the other starting receiver between Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyquan Thornton. I don't know. Is Juju Smith-Schuster exclusively a slot receiver? Because if so, Tyquan Thornton's the steal. I really don't know. It's something I think we should all monitor at training camp. Either way, though, yes, Devontae will start in 2 wide receiver sets. That's the player we need to be higher on. And trust me, I'm watching out. We are looking out for Devontae Parker in this room later on. But right now, I don't think we need to play that. All right. I see you, Owen. 1 quarterback, PPR, 14-team league. My picks would be A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not to grab the Brown brothers. They're not branding themselves as such. But I have A.J. Brown ranked over Stephon Diggs. And I have Amon-Ra St. Brown ranked same tier, but ahead of Garrett Wilson and one spot ahead of Devontae Adams. So those are my two picks. Jessel says the same thing. He agrees. All right, guys. I think Jerome Ford's the pick. I know, Dustin, we agreed that we were going to hammer wide receiver. But honestly, at this point, if we go Jerome Ford, we can cut running back off. We can even be done at 6 running backs, honestly, and hammer wide receivers from there. We already have 4, and we can just pound it along the way. So I think we take our chances with Jerome Ford here. I think that's my pick. And then let's go wide receiver hard the rest of the way. We're done at tight end. We're done at quarterback. Keep our ear to the ground at running back, but we can be done. Joe Mixon starts every week for us. And then let's pretend like we need to fill one spot, one RB2 spot between Dalvin Cook, Charbonnet, Mitchell, Warren, and Ford. I think I'd be okay with that. But we'll still listen. On the board still for us. On the comeback, DJ Chark, Jaden Reed, Isaiah Hodgins, Tim Patrick, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. That's our ADP right now. So, yeah. Genji's right. Devontae Adams is good. I want to be higher on Amon-Ra this year, though. So, Jamal Williams scored the most touchdowns from the 1-yard line of any player since 2015 last year. So we don't think that's going to happen again, right? But everyone's trying to put these rushing touchdowns onto the next running back, like Dave Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs from the 1-yard line. Those rushing touchdowns belong to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Because what happened last year was Amon-Ra St. Brown was tackled inside the 5-yard line 7 times. You can't look this up on any site, so I can't quantify it for you. But that had to be an NFL record for shoestring tackles. The fact that he got tackled inside the 5-yard line, and then Jamal Williams scored all the touchdowns. So what you're betting on is that Amon-Ra St. Brown, at least half the time, does not again get shoestring tackle. So we still bet on Amon-Ra St. Brown as a top 7 wide receiver, in my opinion. I have Amon-Ra just one spot ahead of Adams, but again, same tier. So we're all friends. Devontae Adams, okay. Adams is great. I agree. Adams is great. I just have Amon-Ra one spot ahead of him. But Dustin, that doesn't mean we go over him wide receiver. We still have to target wide receivers here. DJ Chark, Jaden Reed, Tim Patrick, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. That's where we're at. Marvin Mims may come back. We hyped up Jaden Reed so much together. I feel like we should make it happen. Let me, where does Jaden Reed usually go? Round 15. And we're around 16. Oh, yeah. We make Jaden Reed happen, men and women. So, all right, well, Dustin's not donating tonight. Dustin, I'm okay with drafting Tim Patrick. I'm a little bit down on Tim Patrick. Isaiah Hodgins was drafted right before me, David. Isaiah Hodgins was drafted, unfortunately, just a few picks for me. Tim Patrick also just a few picks for me. I'm a little bit down on Tim Patrick, if only because Sean Payton literally prioritized Marvin Mims on day 2. And I just don't know how you fit Tim Patrick in with the rest of these players. Like, how does Tim Patrick rotate in with Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Marvin Mims? Marvin Mims, who's an amazing player. Like, for as brilliant as Lincoln Riley is, and Lincoln Riley is absolutely a brilliant mind, how he egregiously used both Jordan Addison and Marvin Mims is still amazing to me. Like, Marvin Mims was a rotational wide receiver at Oklahoma while Riley was there. And then only when Riley went away was Marvin Mims allowed to be a full-time receiver, and obviously blew up last year as one of the best deep threats in the entire nation. All he does is beat NFL corners with speed and aggressiveness. Same for Jordan Addison. Addison was an amazing slot receiver at Pittsburgh for his entire career, the 2019 Biletnikoff Award winner for the nation's best receiver. He transfers to USC under Lincoln Riley last year, and Lincoln Riley moves him away from the slot. So, like, Lincoln Riley doesn't understand how to use his players, but Marvin Mims is so much better than his early years in college give him credit for. He just wasn't used properly. And Sean Payton saw that and prioritized him on day 2. And so I just don't know. I just don't know how Tim Patrick fits in. I'm trying to figure it out. Personally, I'm even trying to figure it out from our rankings. I just don't know how he fits in. Pat Kerrane is also very high on Robert Woods as Houston's #1 receiver. Let's move this down for everyone. We just picked Jaden Reed. Yes, Pat Kerrane also very high on Robert Woods. Completely understandable. But with Robert Woods, like, his yards per route run dipping 3 consecutive years, career low in target per route run last year as the Titans' #1 wide receiver, I kind of question how much he has left in his bag. But maybe that's too much microanalysis. All right. What I'm seeing here is DJ Chark, Marvin Mims, Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker is going in the 18th round usually. Mims is going around this range. Chark usually goes way earlier than this. Mims is sexier. Yeah, Mims is sexier. DJ Chark will play more. But, with this kind of build, since we're already late on wide receivers, I think we have to go sexy. I think we have to bank on 0 points or all the points. So, yeah, we're going Marvin Mims here. And then maybe everyone in the back end is so ageist that DJ Chark comes back to us. If that's the case, I'll gladly take his usage, even though, again, Chark, I still think Chark is actually one of my favorite picks in best ball too, because he's going to be on the field. He will play in 2 wide receiver sets for Carolina. And Genji, I see your comment. I also like CEH. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I like taking a chance on the Vikings running back 2s. Both of them, Chandler and Dwayne McBride. I think we're hoping here that, and I don't know, maybe so at the trade deadline, Jessel, but I don't know what situation pops up that teams actually jump in and try to trade for Sutton now. It seems like we're really late in the year as I go ahead and make my next ranch water. We're going lime sparkling water this time. I usually have LaCroix or bubbly, but this sparkling water came in a case at Costco, so it's just much easier to buy in bulk. And it's lime flavored and berry flavored, obviously. So we're going to go with that one. 2 ounces of tequila, a whole lime, and lime sparkling water. That's the ranch water. You want to spice it up, add some tahini to your rim. All right. Well, let's pour lime sparkling water. Look at that. We're at ice. I'm not going to get up and leave y'all. You know, there is a chance DJ Shark comes back to us. That'd be fun. Again, I would reach for Corey Davis. I would take Corey Davis in this range. Oh, well, you know, I don't think we need to take Corey Davis just yet. He's a last round pick. We have Joe Mixon, so Richie James is in our range in the 20th round for sure. Darius Slayton was mentioned in the chat. Devontae Parker's in our eyes this round, honestly. It's not the most fun group of wide receivers. But honestly, I think if we just done it running back here, guys, and we just attack wide receivers the rest of the way, I think that's okay. Because I like these bum wide receivers. I really do. Because they're on the field. Like, to get players who are on the field in the 18th or 20th round, that's fun to me. I agree, Adam. We're getting Corey Davis. We're getting Corey Davis in the 19th round. I don't think we need to get him here. But even if it's considered a reach in the 8th, let me make sure. Let me check this past draft board. Corey Davis. So what I'm seeing is that the last 3 days in the $125 best ball tournament, which again is basically what this is since this is best ball, only an 84-person league, but best ball. And round 19, at our position, Michael Wilson has been drafted 14 times. Melvin Gordon has been drafted 13 times. And Corey Davis has been drafted 7 times. You know, Gus Edwards and Melvin Gordon may be good for our stack too. I didn't think about that. Like, Gus Edwards is probably off the board, right? Probably drafted way earlier and I just didn't call out his name. Yeah, definitely. But Melvin Gordon, if we think that's a thing. Genji has his opinion. He says he prefers CEH here. CEH matches up with Joe Mixon week 17, so I don't mind it. I don't hate it at all. But we are getting ADP value on Chark. Chark is going in the 14th round the last 3 days. And wide receivers are more important than running backs on this team, in my opinion. Unless you're confident in like these 4 wide receivers, really, right? Stealing Bananas has 6. Only 4 with capital, but 6. We have these 4. 3 we're confident in. 2 we like, but, you know, understanding range of outcomes, it may not matter. All right. Well, at least I think we're down. I think we've all boiled it down together to Chark and CEH. That's where we're at right now. All right. I mean, look at this. Hey, I'm listening. Oh, he just went. Of course he did. Everyone was on CEH. I was going to listen. I agree with y'all. CH is gone. What I think we have to do is go Chark and then make Richie James our 20th pick. It was a good idea, though. As Wallace said, still had the idea, though. All right, guys, we're going DJ Chark. I believe so. He infiltrated us. But Dave and I still get our wish. And Chark, we still get. Again, Chark has been going in the 14th round the last 3 days. Like, we got him 4 rounds later. That's okay. We should be happy. We got a discount. Still had the idea, though. I'm still happy with it. We need the wide receivers. We need bodies out there. Devontae Parker, Corey Davis still on the board. Richie James in our range. We have Joe Mixon, so why not? Richie James was really good with the Giants last year, too. Like an actual professional NFL slot receiver who did really well in the playoffs in my DFS lineups. I like Richie James a lot, actually. Melvin Gordon, if we want to like make this crazy Baltimore stack, Melvin Gordon's here. We could always do that. Some of my favorite last round picks for those playing in these deeper leagues, like dart throws. I'm not necessarily confident anything's going to come of it, but the dart throw players, running backs that I think you should be taking shots on, Ty Chandler and Dwayne McBride, both of them. Dwayne McBride has had that hamstring injury since before the combine workouts, but he led the nation in gains of 10 plus yards. The dude touches the field and he explodes. And the Vikings, even the coaches, haven't seen him practice yet. When he does, I question if Ty Chandler will be the RB2 behind Alexander Madison. So I want to take my chances on Dwayne McBride. And for redraft leagues, your home leagues, remember, I love this time of the year because your home leagues, that means you can take a Dwayne McBride in the last round, knowing that you can drop him for waivers in week 1. It's no big deal, right? Like Dwayne McBride doesn't get a touch or he's healthy scratched. Okay, you're done with him. Best ball, it's a little more risky because we need points from every player. Even in the 20th round, we need that guy to have at least one usable week and help us out because that's what best ball is structure. But for redraft, I'm just putting on your radar. Dwayne McBride's an amazing last round pick. I also like Keontae Ingram behind James Conner, who obviously can't stay healthy. Malik Davis, assuming the Cowboys don't sign anyone else. Both Josh Kelly and Isaiah Spiller, I think, are interesting. Josh Kelly averaged 8.5 touches per game over the second half of the season behind Austin Eckler last year. But Isaiah Spiller was a 3-down workhorse in the SEC. He just, I don't know why he couldn't get healthy last year, why he couldn't get active. They never used him last year, but he was a day 2 running back with 3-down pedigree. So I don't want to rule out Isaiah Spiller behind Austin Eckler. So like on 20 round formats, wherever you're drafting, FFPC, wherever else, I do admittedly take Isaiah Spiller both in Charger stacks and just standalone, just as like the pop shot. Also here, not in this league, but Zamir White still goes around this range in other leagues, in other formats. So keep an eye on Zamir White. He went mid 16th round this draft. In my most recent underdog rankings, available for everyone, 44.com on the site. And through the week, we still have our 25% off discount, early bird discount, if you want to jump in for all of our underdog rankings, projections, everything else. And remember, we have Hero League as well. So you sync it to your league, and Paulson's projections cater to your league. So if you're in one of these quirky leagues, like Scott Fishbowl, for instance, right, where you get points for first downs, if you have League Hero, you sync it to your league for subscribing for, again, 25% off, and it actually caters the projections to your league. So you get the rankings to your league. Helps me out a ton in my home leagues. So still happening right now. But Isaiah Spiller, Trevion Williams, I still bet on. And Ty Montgomery. You don't have to draft Ty Montgomery. And if you're still around in a 14-team league, if you're in like a 20-rounder, I think Ty Montgomery may be sexy. He was used ahead of Ramondre Stevenson in week 1. He got injured in week 1. But remember, in week 1 last year, Ty Montgomery with Ramondre Stevenson active, had 5 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown. He led all of the Patriots running backs in targets and in target share as well. So I still take little papa shots. I throw lawn darts at Ty Montgomery, especially if I have Bills or Patriot stacks. That's okay. This motherfucker, he just took Corey Davis. He didn't want Corey Davis. Shane Hallam. Of course it was Shane Hallam, who works with me at 4-4. I have never been more frustrated than getting poached by Corey Davis. That's all I wanted. Why can't I have Corey Davis? Okay. Dwayne McBride, Melvin Gordon. Robert Woods is still here. Khalil Shakur is still here. Khalil Shakur's kind of fun, right? Devontae Parker off the board. Puka Nacua is a good pick as well. I feel like Khalil Shakur is fine. Like, what if Dalton Kincaid playing the slot doesn't work out and they have to say, oh, we need a slot receiver? It's Khalil Shakur. I feel like Shakur's fine. We're going Shakur. But if you noticed, it's very upsetting, actually. All the players we had queued together, Darius Slayton, Devontae Parker, Ty Chandler, Richie James, Corey Davis, all of them queued up. All of them went before us. So I think we're looking at now with 8 receivers. I think we're looking at topping this off with either Melvin Gordon or Dwayne McBride. If y'all want to make an argument for Robert Woods or Puka Nacua, I'm listening. We have Cooper Kupp. We don't have any Giants run backs, so we don't even need to worry about Giant stacks. We just have Cooper Kupp. No big deal. I'm definitely listening. Where we get our Week 17 stacks are Steelers for sure. Steelers, Seattle. Even though it's only Charbonnet, we have 4 Steelers players, including the quarterback. Jets, Browns. We have 3 players in Jets, Browns. Oh, you know what? We have Jaden Reed. So if Dwayne McBride were to fall, we have Packers, Vikings indoors in Week 17. That may be the key. Oh, yeah. Genji saying generic Prince. You know, I feel like every round my hat gets a little bit backward more. Maybe it's only because I'm drinking a little more after every round. Look at Jezel. Look at Jezel. Jezel, you're going to have to DM me or put a comment in the chat just so I can find you. That way I can comment back to you for your email. Do one of those 2 things. DM at John Daigle or put a comment in the chat to make sure I can find you. That's all I'm asking. David, we have 4 Steelers players. We can't go a 5th Steelers player. I mean, we can. I've done crazier things. But we don't need to go a 5th Steelers player. We're fine without Allen Robinson. So I think, and we may have a snitch in the chat, Joe. You're right. Generic Prince will be starting and as a kick returner for the Chiefs. Thank you, Jessel. I see you. DM me. Because right now, we haven't named the title yet. I'm still trying to make up the title on the spot. You're the Commenter of the Week. How about that? Commenter of the Week. We'll create a theme song. Here we go. Even though David was here for the John Daigle show, though, every morning, actually. So here we go. Commenter of the Week. What a fucking awful song. It's supposed to be louder than that. These are the stock songs, by the way. Yard for everyone to see. Commenter of the Week. No. That sounds like Fall Out Boy covering a song. Okay, one more time. One more time. Commenter of the week. Oh, I played that one already. Commenter of the week. I played that one already as well. Commenter of the week. No, it can't fucking... These stock songs fucking suck. We can't do that. But Jessel, you are the man. I do know Overzet loves this stock song. I know people love Feeding the Ducks. We're going to leave it on the rest of the way. I really think we're looking at Melvin Gordon here. I think we just try to craft a unique stack. Like, who has Lamar, Mark Andrews, and Melvin Gordon in a 84-person league? We still have to be unique, right? Ain't no one else doing that. Yeah, Calvin Austin, that's a Karain. Karain has kind of like talked me into Calvin Austin over A-Rob, even though I really do believe they traded for A-Rob to be their big slot. So just be very careful of that. That's the thing, Jessel. It's like Miami equity's hard to get. It's like it's literally Braxton Berrios. I mean, it's very hard to get. So in this case, everyone, we're looking at Melvin Gordon, Braxton Berrios, Robert Woods, Puka Nacua. In Miami's like backup tight ends, Elijah Higgins, who is a converted wide receiver. He runs a 4.5, I believe it is. He's a freak athlete, but we can't draft him. Gosh. I think let's go Braxton Berrios. I mean, it won't be a 0 because Braxton Berrios earns targets. All he ever did with the Jets was earn targets every single time he was active. It's unique. I actually trust Berrios being active more often than Melvin Gordon. All right, we got to stop feeding the ducks. This song is going to drive me fucking insane. How do I stop this song? Thank you. Goodness gracious. I trust Berrios being active well before I do Melvin Gordon. By a mile. It also gives us, well, we padded. We have 9 wide receivers, but I also like our running backs. Yes, a lot of contingency players, but a lot of players at the upside. So we may struggle with RB2 points pending where Dalvin Cook signs. But again, we're kind of trying to backdoor Dalvin Cook to the Dolphins. Because then we get Lamar and Mark Andrews week 17 versus Dalvin and Braxton Berrios. Who has that? Us. That's it. And tied in premium with our Steelers Seahawks stack. I think it went pretty well, to be quite honest. I think that was fun. I'm going to keep it around to close it out, just to show y'all so you can all see, just in case you have 20-round drafts coming up, what high-stakes players are doing. Whether you respect them or not, high-stakes players have skin in the game. They are here not only tonight, but I know all these people in this league. I literally know all of them personally. They are in the streets every week. They are in these drafts. So you at least can get a feel for what they're doing. We can see the rest of their picks. We talked about Trey Lance's dynasty value earlier. 20th round right now in a best ball league. As a QB3, I'd imagine. Yeah. Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins, and Trey Lance. You don't need correlation with Trey Lance, but does he have any San Francisco players? It doesn't look like it. No San Francisco. But again, rushing quarterback, you don't need that. That's okay. Melvin Gordon may go undrafted. That is crazy, Kazee. First of all, Kazee, it's crazy you're only commenting now. You're waiting until literally the 2-hour fucking mark to comment. Think about that for a second. And then also, how is Mac Jones still on the board behind Trey Lance, Mike White, and Baker Mayfield? That's crazy too. You're right. That is fucking insane. That Mac Jones is like, could even be considered a QB2. Like, best ball drafts, I will literally do QB2 Mac Jones, no QB3. And then he's not drafted here. That's an upset of the century. That's wild. Anyways, you saw it all tonight. I explained every pick. I can't explain anymore. We've been on here for 2 hours. I'm 3 ranch waters in. So we're going to call it here. But before you leave, remember, the most accurate podcast wherever you listen. And that's important to subscribe to because tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, jot that memory down, 2 p.m. Eastern, we have the great Jason Moore of Fantasy Footballers. Don't tell Mike or Andy this, but Jason is my favorite fantasy footballer. He's the one, he's my speed, he's my energy. So I'm so excited that he agreed to come on. We are doing a mock draft, a 12-team, 15-round mock draft. Myself, John Paulson, and Jason Moore, the Fantasy Footballers, together at 2 p.m. Eastern on this very channel. And if you can't watch the video, it'll be available for you on this channel later on, but the most accurate podcast wherever you listen to your feed. So please tune into that. And until tomorrow, because it seems like it never stops. It seems like I'm just here every day moving forward. Now that football season is getting closer, remember, be a little bit kinder than what's required. We'll see you next time.